My name is Yara, and this is my position speech. I will be arguing the article Every American Has a Right to Curse the President, written by the New York Times editorial board. The First Amendment is one of the most well known laws for personal liberty, yet is the one that is constantly threatened and brought into question. This editorial directly questions the limitations of those freedoms. It is one of the most commonly misunderstood amendments, as many American citizens, as well as lawmakers and politicians, do not realize the limitations and full extensions of this law. That is what we see here in this article, which discusses the case of Roselle Park versus Patricia DeLassio. Ms. DeLassio's daughter, who is the one that actually posted these vulgar and crude worded letters against current President Biden, that were in favor for past President Trump, was her personal liberties were brought into question as her neighbors and even the first judge that the case saw it as vulgar and in direct objection to, or within violation rather, of the First Amendment, when in fact it was not true. I believe this showcases, more so highlights, the obvious misunderstanding and lack of knowledge of the First Amendment law, which is very very evident in this case. I personally do not believe that this case should have even gone to court, much less higher than that, as we see that there was no violation, and rather this court case was in violation of Mrs. DeLassio's daughter's personal liberties. Justice John Marshall Harlan II defended the law in and the case of Miss DeLassio as a liberty to be afforded by all, as it is geared more towards perspective rather than a binary thought. He is quoted to have said that one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. That is one of the things that is commonly misunderstood about the First Amendment law, that it is based on more so on perspective and how it is received rather than how it is being said. And that is where a lot of these cases have gone to court when it wouldn't have been necessary had more people been familiar with the extensions of this law. I think more citizens are aware of the limitations of this law more so than they are of the extensions, as is exampled in this case. This case was brought on by the election results of 2020, which continued the contention between the parties. This event was one of high emotions, and Mrs. DeLassio's daughter used her personal liberty to vocalize her opinion, as many did in favor of their favorite opponent. However, because hers was publicized, it did bring more bad publicity, and that's how this case got furthered, which the editorial board does discuss, as it brings in how the neighbors had complained to the mayor, who then called a code enforcement lawyer, who then cited them, and then it got to the Judge Bundy, who ordered her to remove the signs or face a $250 fine. In this editorial, it does lack in saying exactly how it was a violation of Mrs. DeLassio's daughter's personal liberties, and I think that is lacking in this, because it quoted Moore's side of the mayor, who told a journal that today was a win for borough and decency, rather than showcasing how it was imbalanced, the right to free speech versus the wider range of understood limitations or restrictions. One of the biggest known organizations, the ACLU, has held many major cases in the First Amendment because it is so popularly misunderstood. And they even went as far as to defend the KKK and Nazis in the reach of this law. I think that showcases how many gaps there were from understanding of between lawmakers and citizens. Popular culture has brought on the debate of the true reach of the First Amendment, But research continues to be the best message to win any court case featuring this law. The wide variety of the law needs to be more widely understood by citizens and politicians alike, not just in a courtroom or when it extends to the courtroom. I believe that this article would have been better served to have brought up a discussion of personal obligation of law knowledge and how to exercise personal liberties better, and more often, as it's not only tied to politics but to the betterment of human life. Citizens should be motivated to research, challenge, and exercise their First Amendment to the fullest extent as to avoid the strain of lawsuits as an example in this Roselle Park case.